Apple enters the AI race. Let's be honest, we know that Google Home, Alexa is like really, really good. But when it comes to like the Siri, it's been horrible, right?
Yeah, so that's part of it, right? So like they're integrating ChatGPT into Siri. And you're right, like I actually stopped using Siri years ago because it's like you ask it and it's so bad compared to my Google Home. Were you saying because you have an Apple phone, an Android phone, I'm an Apple user, sorry, you're an Android user, that you use Gemini now and not Google?
Yeah. So they did for the past, I think 2 weeks now, they integrated Gemini to your SMS messages. So like later at night, I'll be messaging Gemini and my wife will be like, what are you doing? Who are you messaging? You know, like, oh, my AI assistant. So yeah, it's great. Very concise, very to the point. How to decommoditize
I knew you were going to struggle with this word. I knew it. Decommoditize your business and stand out.
All right, so have a framework, right?
Yeah, so like there's two parts to this, right? So we're going to talk about one, framework, and part two is information products. Welcome to Inbound Buzz. My name is Moby Sadiq, and you're joining us for episode 163. And I'm joined by my co-host, Semi. How are you, Semi?
Good, Mobs. Good. How are you?
It's good to be here, man.
Absolutely.
So what's cracking today? What do we got with our news buzz?
So apparently Apple enters the AI race. AI has already entered the AI race, but Apple enters the AI race, right? So let's be honest. We know that Google Home, Alexa is like really, really good, but when it comes to like the Siri, it's been horrible, right?
Yeah, so that's part of it, right? So like they're integrating ChatGPT into Siri. And you're right, like I actually stopped using Siri years ago because it's like you ask it and it's so bad compared to my Google Home.
Yeah, look, I'm a Pixel user, so like I don't know, I can't relate to the pains that you're going through with Siri, but yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting because now, are they late to the party?
Yeah, man, like they've been like suspiciously late to the party. You know, Google, Microsoft, obviously OpenAI, they're all on this AI journey, and Apple has been like suspiciously quiet. So obviously for those guys, it's like, well, it's easier and better. We've got the money in the cash. Actually, there's no cash exchange in this deal, by the way. Like it's just network effects. So OpenAI gets Apple's network effects, and Apple, leverages from OpenAI.
Man, OpenAI's been doing these deals lately, yeah, like with what was it, Reddit last week, and OpenAI.
It's an arms race right now, right?
They're just getting everyone's details and data and like metrics from everyone, I guess. I don't know.
It's who can actually get the lion's share of the space. So the one thing I'll say that annoyed me by this is they're calling it Apple Intelligence. Right? So like AI, Apple Intelligence, and like trust Google to just try to like ignore the entire industry and come up with its own terms. We spoke about this once when they came out with their goggles, right?
Apple Vision Pros.
Apple Vision Pros. It's essentially the metaverse. It's the metaverse. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But they didn't call it that. They call it something completely different. I can't even remember. Right. And I think there's a problem with that because they always try to, which is really cool. They're historically, because they created the iPod, they're known for category killers, category creators. That's what they do.
Yeah.
This one
are they playing catch up now?
They are playing catch up because it's not their own thing. They are integrating AI, but the biggest announcement has been the ChatGPT and Siri thing.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. Like I might actually start using this thing because now it can actually carry out actions within apps. So say, for example, you want to find out when your mum's flight is landing. You might be like, hey, Siri, when's my mum's flight landing? It'll be smart enough to dig into your wallet, or I guess if it's your mother, it won't be in your wallet. It might be in your emails, text messages. Yeah. It'll like source all of that out. Say you want your driver's license number. You took a photo of something once. Like that's pretty cool. And it might actually be useful for once. So I think it's good.
There you go. Let us know if you also find the Siri update version called Apple Intelligence pretty good in the chat. Anyways, 46% of Gen Z use social media to research over Google.
Yeah. So Forbes did some research with Talker Research, and they found that 45% of Gen Zs use social media. They prefer using social media to Google. This is interesting. We've been talking about on this show for a long time, like how people use TikTok for recipes and finding restaurants, and how like, I shared a story where like my wife needed to figure out how to clean the fan blades without getting the dust on the ground. So she saw this TikTok, she searched on TikTok, and apparently you can get an old pillow cover and put the pillow cover over and clean it that way. So like this is happening, but what's like this is just, you've got to see this coming, guys. Like this is more and more, Gen Zs are catching up. They're becoming adults now. They're spending money. This is something to be mindful of. And I think you said like you do something similar, although it's not like TikTok or Instagram, but
I might be a Gen Z because I go to, my first search engine is YouTube. It might not be TikTok or Instagram. But I search on YouTube first. If I find it, then great. If I don't, then I would go to Google.
Were you saying because you have an Apple phone, an Android phone? I'm an Apple user. Sorry, you're an Android user that use Gemini now and not Google.
Yeah. So they did for the past, I think 2 weeks now. They integrated Gemini to your SMS messages. So like late at night, I'll be messaging Gemini, and my wife will be like, "What are you doing? Who are you messaging?" You know, like, "Oh, my AI assistant." So yeah, it's great. Very concise, very to the point.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, like, let's just kind of treat the data as it is. I will say, so this data has been done by Talker Research and Forbes, but it was only 2,000 American Gen Zers. So like, do take that with a grain of salt. But again, this is a trend. Like there was a time where Instagram was just for little kids, right? And now like a lot of businesses can't survive without it. What they are saying that right now they're primarily turning to social apps for fashion, beauty, food, craft-related trends, self-care, well-being, DIY projects, and people are still turning to Google for bigger purchases and professional services. But that tide is coming. It's honestly, already here.
In my opinion, I don't think it's going to take any longer because we got lawyers. We've got there's a TikTok inspector. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, right? He's doing so he's a building inspector going around inspecting buildings, and and people find him to do a serious business, professional service to come and inspect their construction jobs, so they can deal with their builders, right? He's getting his leads from TikTok, and that's why it's called TikTok Inspector, right? So like
it's already here.
It's already here.
Get onto it.
Cool. So featured buzz. How to decommoditize
I knew you were going to struggle with this word. I knew it. Decommoditize your business and stand out. To be fair to you, I don't know if that's a real word. Commoditize is. But yeah, you're right. We're talking about how to decommoditize your business and stand out.
Absolutely. All right. So have a framework, right? So story, which is, I think...
So like there's two parts to this, right? So we're going to talk about one, framework, and part two is information products. Yeah. Now, on the framework side, like I'll admit, Simi, like I was a little bit slow to the power of frameworks. And when the penny dropped to me was last year, I went to Impact Live, our partners in America, and I was speaking there. But the way the agenda was organized, like I didn't know whether, because I was there on business, I didn't know whether I was going to be speaking or not until last minute. And I didn't want to push it. They had a lot of speakers and stuff. But like last minute, I found out. Now, me like being the lazy bugger I was at that event, I didn't prepare for a speech because I'm like, why is prepare for one if I'm not going to talk? And then about half an hour before, I realized I did have a slot, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I better prepare. So I'm like, okay. Now, by the way, the topic was, is it too late to podcast in 2023? This was last year. Is it too late to podcast? And the short answer is, spoiler alert, it's not. So what I did, like, how am I going to go up there and give like a half an hour talk on this thing, right? So I'm like, okay, I need an acronym. So I came up with SOLD, right? And I won't go through it now. Like we might have covered this in previous episodes, but just for the purpose of the story, the S stands for scalable. So you have to do something that you can do in a scalable fashion. And I shared our story. You have to outsource some elements. You have to be a learner. So like what people don't realize, like Simi and I for this show, you and I read news, we read books, we're sharing data from our agency. Like it's real shit. Like we can't just come on here, just talk about anything. You have to learn, otherwise you're going to have a bad show. And D, so that's the communication part. And D stands for verbal diarrhea because I couldn't make it SOVL or SOLV.
Just wouldn't make sense.
And that was just some tips around how you get a show moving, segments and stuff. And that's what I did. So I went up there, I told a story, I shared a framework, and I just shared what we did. And anytime I felt like I was getting off track, I went back to my framework. So like that keeps you on path, it keeps you on purpose. And that for me is like, there's something deeper to this. Yeah. So I used it for communication, but you can use it for so many things. And if you do it in a sales and marketing capacity, and so the reason why I actually wanted to talk about it today, Simi, is like in the sales coaching part of my role, I've been hearing a lot of our clients' calls where they're getting commoditized, right?
Yeah.
And you're being commoditized, where people keep asking you about price. They keep comparing you. Oh, your competitor charges 2K or less. Can I get a discount? Now, there's a lot of things we don't do well, right? Like every business.
Yeah.
But one of the things I have to say that we do really well, I can't remember the last time we've pitched and then someone's asked for a discount, because the way we package it with so much value, and we communicate it in a way, by the time we get to a price, it feels very, very reasonable. And we've created we're operating in blue ocean. We're promoting it in a way where no one else quite does what we do.
Mm.
So we don't tend to get that, but I've been hearing that a lot. So that's why I want to talk about frameworks.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, that makes sense. Like in terms of sales and marketing, and like the effort that you would require to kind of not be put in the same bucket. Yeah, it's interesting. So let's talk about if you don't have a framework. What happens then, right? So you're offering the same thing as everyone else, like digital marketing services, hairdressers, whatever, right? Solar, same thing, right? You're an established business industry. It comes very hard to be able to share your differentiation between, what you do and everyone else does, and you don't have a framework. So, what do you do? Like, how do you change that?
Yeah, so that's so you're right, Sammy. Like you do that, those things become hard. It becomes very hard to communicate. As a sales rep, it becomes hard to, without being defensive. And that, I always talk about in sales, like the moment you're sounding defensive, you're losing authority. It becomes very hard to sell as a sales rep, and even in your messaging, right? So the way I like to think of it is, think about anyone who wants to buy from you. They want a result. They want an outcome. So that's like the destination. Your framework is the map to that destination. And I learned this from Russell Brunson, right? Like your framework is their map. Like you're selling them an outcome and a destination, and the framework is how you do it. So now chances are, the thing is, you're probably already, like businesses are probably already doing this. They already have a quote unquote secret sauce. They already have a series of steps that they're doing, but they're just not communicating it. So imagine like you actually start doing this. Like I want to share an example. So I'm going to share my screen at the moment. And if you are listening to this, listen along. But if you want to see what I'm showing, go to redpandas.com.au/EP163. Yep. And so what you'll see on my screen right now, or if you're listening, is this is an example, right, of a framework. And this is our 6-step HubSpot mastery process. So when I sell HubSpot, I very rarely am I doing slides. Very rarely am I talking at the client. I'm understanding their problems, what success looks like. And once it's ready for me to pitch, now I can actually talk about our process. And if I share anything, I'm sharing like one thing. Either it's this or it's a customer journey map. But this is essentially our process. There's 6 steps here: scoping, discovery, the technical, customer journey, reveal and automations, the weekly work in progress meetings, and then the training and go live. Now, a lot of people might be doing this as well, but no one is communicating this. So the client now sees, okay, cool, I understand what he's selling me, and I see the map. I can see the path to success here and my destination, and it makes selling so much easier, and the ability for them to communicate this to their higher ups and whoever they need approval from.
So just to kind of give a real life example, right? So I keep going back to hairdressers for some reason, but let's just
because you need a haircut, that's why.
Thanks. Let's just go and say, for example, design business, right? Design, when you go to someone to get a design, you're like, hey, I want a house, right? There's a house that you want to get designed, and that's the end goal. But instead of the person that's selling, instead of going, okay, cool, like, what type of house you want, blah, 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 going into solution mode, right? You should talk about the process to kind of get the design done, which is the different steps that you would do, right? So same thing with, for example, a car mechanic, right? If the customer comes in there and says, "Hey, I need a new engine," right? They don't know what that process looks like, but for you, you're like, okay, cool. Like we need to source the engine out. We need to do a whole bunch of things. That would be your framework effectively, and then that then gives trust in a different way for you to then sell it easily with your client. So you're not comparing apples for apples.
You're doing what you probably already do and maybe what you speak about, but you are visualizing it for them.
Gotcha.
It's printed out. So yeah, it's a good point there you raised, Sammy. The point is there, you're visualizing, you're presenting, it's printed, it's on a PowerPoint, it's on a screen.
Yeah.
It's a tool that you can actually show customers that this is the path we take. This is your map to success.
Gotcha.
Right? Now, step one is just laying it out. That's step one. But if you truly want to decommoditize yourself, then you got to work on like how you're different. And this is where you see things in the industry like our proprietary 5-step plan to or they'll have like a trademark. It's probably not even really trademark, but they'll put a little TM on it. So that's step two. If you can really think about ways to develop your offering in a way like this, no one else quite does it like us.
Yeah.
Right. So like
we're really good with HubSpot, for example.
Yeah,
right?
we're really good with HubSpot. And one of the things that we do better than anyone I've seen is customer journey mapping.
Absolutely.
Better than I've seen ever. There's things that people are better at us and technically whatever.
Yeah.
When it comes to customer journey mapping, we're up there, if not the best. So when we're sharing our process and we talk about our customer journey mapping process and how we do it and the experience we have, it'll be very difficult for someone to compete.
Yeah.
And that's probably why, Sammy, I will say, watch tomorrow now, someone's going to ask me for a discount. But that's why like it hardly ever happens to us. Like once they're in there, we've been slowly raising our prices to meet the demand. And, we found a spot now that's it's a high value offering, but it doesn't feel like a ripoff, but it's also not the cheapest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's that. So yeah, just think about it from a sales point of view, how much easier it would be for you to sell. And from a customer's point of view, how much easier would it be for them to follow? But that's part one.
Yeah. Part two, information products, right? So information products could be anything like a course video or even event coaching, a tool, software, even a lead magnet, right? But it's so much more. There's two types of businesses where information products can be offered, right? Business number one is the business that sells information products for a living. That's your coaches, your consultants, the people that are courses that are like, YouTubers, people that are just giving out information content, right? They already do that. So it's easier for them to produce these content.
Yeah.
The second type of business is the products and services business. These are
most of us, like traditional businesses.
Yeah. Like we don't spend time writing content and stuff for like, for bits and pieces, but like it's mostly spent on our client's job, right? So everything else, businesses that sell physical products and services, this is a lot. This is the not obvious one, but the one I want to spend most time on.
So yeah, so the information one, that is like, it's easy for those guys, like there's other experts that are specialized with just these guys. I don't want to talk about the information people, the ones who sell information for a living.
That's right.
We're talking about everyone else.
Like your plumbers,
like digital marketers,
solar companies,
right?
your
How
lawyers.
can they leverage this?
Absolutely.
That's the question.
Right.
And it isn't just like, people might think, and I remember when you and I first started talking about it, you're like, our lead magnets. I'm like, it's so much more than that. It's not just a lead magnet. It's actually, a lead magnet is something you use to get more subscribers and, people try to use it to sell them something. That's not that. It's actually bundling it with your core offer. Right.
Gotcha.
So the question actually becomes, how can traditional product and service businesses bundle information products? Now, I want to give a couple of examples. So with Red Pandas, like we're a traditional service business and, we do HubSpot, we do digital marketing, we do paid media, done for you, done by you, we do coaching. And one of the relatively new things we've started to do is selling courses. Right. So like a course right now that we've actually sold out for, but if you go to the show notes, you can pre-register for the next time we do it. It's a 8-week AI content revenue masterclass. So it's designed for content managers, marketing managers, business owners on how to use AI to create content, to create revenue. Right. Cool. Amazing. Done. Now, the core offer, the core product is the course.
Exactly.
But the information, right? The information, bundle or information products that we've added to this is we've added a level of bonuses. So how we've sort of packaged this is you got the course, which was sold for an introductory price of $1,500. And then we had $6,204 worth of bonuses. Now, it seems pretty scammy, right? I'm sure you're listening like, oh, wow, wait, there's more. It sounds like that, right? And to be honest, it comes from that world. Like that world works for a living.
Yeah.
But when you break it down, all of these things have value. So one of the bonuses there is a 7-killer AI prompt for marketers keynote that we did.
Yeah.
People paid like $200 to come to that, and that Linda presented that. It was the most popular talk that we did.
Yeah.
Right. So valued at $95. Right. Social media caption writer, a content critique. So 2 custom GPTs. One creates social media posts for you. You just click on buttons, you answer its questions, and it writes it for you. And the other one critiques your content. So imagine having
stuff that you'll actually be using, right?
You'll
like
use
stuff
this,
that you'll
right?
100% need it
we
to use
could
it.
sell.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. It's not just a lead magnet. This stuff has to be something that if you try to sell it, you could sell it, and it needs
to be valuable enough for someone to go, okay, cool. Like that is valuable for me. It's not just a PDF. It's not just a course. It's not something that I'm going to be making use of it. It's like something that's useful for me to be able to get the results that I'm after, right?
So that's how we value stack that,
Yeah.
right? So in that particular case, now if you're an RTO, definitely we work with a lot of RTOs, right? That's one of the industries we specialize with. You could literally steal this playbook.
Yeah.
Where you could literally be like, okay, cool, you get this, but then we're going to you're not going to say value stack, but internally, I'm going to value stack this with things that are valuable to this audience. Like if you're an RTO, you might have a career course on how you get a job, how you show up for an interview. I'm not talking about some shitty blog post. Everyone does that.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone does that. I'm not talking about some download. Everyone's doing that. You offer it as part of your core offer. It's so good. You've spent time on it. Yeah, you spend a bit of money to create it once, but now you can scale it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you might still be a bit skeptical. And I thought about this deeper. Like, okay, if I really, really challenge myself, like, could you do this in a more typical product or service? And I thought about solar, right? We've got a lot of experience in solar. We work with solar companies. And I thought about like, how could this work? And it really kind of tickled me for a little bit. I'm like, I don't know how I'd make this work. And I thought about it. What's the desire? And Russell Brunson talks about these 3 core desires that every business on earth sells to. And every business is a sub-segment of this. It's either health, wealth, or relationships.
Yeah.
Right? So we're in the wealth space. Like the core desire we're in is wealth. So it's a sub-market or it's a sub-industry of wealth, but it is.
Yeah, people want to save. They want to save money. They want to
Say, I mean, in our case, it's make money. It's not save, but it's like generate revenue, right? Yeah. But with solar, So with solar, it'd be save money.
Specifically, right? Solar to save money. That's why they put solar panels up on their thing. They compare prices to be able to see what's cheapest, what's not cheapest.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So you start with that desire or that sub-desire. So like you said, they want to save money. They want to get their electricity bills down. Why are they buying solar? Yeah, it's to save money, sure. But think about the individual or the household, right? Like household's probably the biggest persona in solar. It's a household. They have electricity bills. They have a mortgage. They have, even if they're paying you for solar, they're still going to pay someone for a bill.
They're going to pay,
There's all these things, right? So you're part of that space. You're not just selling solar. You're helping them in that wealth desire. Dare I say financial freedom? Like you're a big pillar of that.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, cool. You might offer it like this. Like what if you had like a household money makeover course? So you sell solar, but with that, everyone who buys it, you offer them with a course and you value that course at something.
Or budgeting thing, right? So like, okay, cool. Like now we got your solar covered, right? What about a tool that they can use to, save money elsewhere, right?
Yeah, it's something that's so valuable. Now they do. It's funny you say that because a lot of like property investors do that. Now the thing is, anytime a marketer ruins something, you got to move on to something better, right? But yeah, it's kind of like that. Like download my spreadsheet, and it will show you how to make money. And now they're probably legitimate too, but the problem is everyone's done it, right?
Yeah.
So then you have to move up the value chain and have a tool that is a bit harder, a bit more valuable, stands out.
Yeah.
But no one's doing this in solar, by the way. No one is. But yeah, it could be a tool. Exactly. Copy that from another industry.
It could be a custom GPT that answers your money questions for like, general advice, whatever. Like, hey, am I saving this?
Something that's going to save you money. Yeah. Now, with solar, because I know a little bit about solar, I know, for example, if you don't get a battery, like solar could save you anywhere from 50 to 75% of your bill.
Wow.
But there's more than that too. Because I listen to the guys all the time, they talk about this. It's, you change your behaviors. So you do your washing in the daytime, you do all these things. And then that's just one component. But what if there was something else?
What about a habit tracker that reminds you to do your washing during the day so you don't forget about it?
Yeah, right. So the key thing is if you're doing this for the first time, I do recommend you have one core thing rather than like value stack. Like it's good to have one core thing that's really, really, really important because it gets hard to sell. But you're right, you could start offering these things. And if you want to go a step further, if you start playing in a space that's not your space, like financial freedom,
Yeah.
then you leverage off someone else. You call in someone who's a financial advisor. And honestly, you ask 10 people, someone's going to freaking say yes. I'll change my name if they all say no. You're just packaging it wrong.
Yeah.
Because the way you package it is like, look, we're going to do this course. It's going to cost you nothing but a little bit of your time.
Yeah.
And we're going to give this course to everyone who bought solar in the past and every mofo that buys solar until we close our doors, which is not anytime soon.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to get involved?
There you go.
Your brand, your name, do you want to get involved?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Because then you add credibility to what you're doing, right? Like, oh, I'm a solar guy. I wear a polo shirt. Like, how much are people going to respect me with finance? Even me, I'm a marketer. You know, you were just saying that. You know what came to my mind? With solar, it's obviously sustainable, but there's so many other ways of, saving on sustainability, like ensuring your house is like all water, airtight, thermal efficiencies, like, all the other bits and pieces that you can go into, right? So you can not necessarily financial stuff, but you can move into, making sure that you're not consuming enough to be able to save more, right? That stuff is better than the financial stuff I'm talking about, because like that's more core to
exactly, right?
Like insulation,
which is the best R value for your making sure that you don't lose your heating and cooling,
it makes a big difference. And if you think people don't care, then you just have to make sure it's valued in a way that they do. Like, is there going to be a financial benefit of the tips that they take? If no, then it's a shit course. But if it is, and we know that it is, then you're actually going to say, and they will care. And I know they'll care because listen to the calls all the time. And they're like, I'm trying to get my bills down. I'm trying to figure out what the payback period is. Like they're talking about hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, the stuff Scott Pappy talks about in Barefoot Investor, but for saving costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it can be done. I think absolutely it can be done.
I think it's a brilliant idea, to be honest.
And that's how you democratize. There's that two ways. There's a lot more ways, but for the purpose of this show, that's two key things that we want to cover is have a framework, show them how the secret sauce is made, and think about information products to add to augment your value.
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool. Anything else on that, Semi, before we wrap it up?
No, man. I think it's a solid advice here. I think it's just good to test it out and try it out and see how it works. Love to.
Actually, you reminded me of something. Test it out. That's the key thing people miss. I won't go into it today, but we launched a product earlier this year that we didn't test, and it kind of flopped. And then we actually got some market research. Well, we asked our customers, and then we created the AI course. So I'm glad you said that, Semi, because it's probably one of the most important tips. Is if I was doing this, right, I would check with my clients. Do not miss that step.
Yeah.
Hey, so you concept it, right? You concept it. You come up with something as close as possible from a concept point of view. You don't create it yet. And then you ask your customers, would you buy this?
Do an MVP.
I wouldn't. Okay, what would make you buy it?
Yeah.
Well, if it did this, you gave me an idea.
Do an MVP.
Ask 20,
Do an MVP, minimum viable product, right?
Yeah, or at least even before that, because that might take some time. If you can, great.
Oh, yeah.
But just to get the concept ready. And then ask 20 customers and see what they say. But thank you, Semi. I almost forgot that.
There you go.
But on that note, we'll end it there, guys. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Inbound Buzz. And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Thanks for listening to Inbound Buzz. Learn anything? Return the favor by spreading the word. Want to make your mark in digital? Need help with your digital strategy, inbound, and marketing automation efforts? Then visit redpandas.com.au and be sure to tune in next time for another Inbound Buzz hit.